C8, vessel loading proceed with the notification of the apparently successful offer. Each of the apparently successful offers will provide with a strategic petroleum with the project manager of their office. Proposed schedule vessel loading window with the corner of the provision C5. The length of the schedule of the loading window should be 3 days. With the purchase of the schedule of more than one window of the average quantity with the lift determined the single load window will not be less than the Department of Energy minimum lot of quantity. See with the tanker ship of the ITB of the self-propelled barge shall be capable of sustaining the minimum average load rate commensurable with the receipt of the entire full cargo within 24 hours with the pumping time with a purchase load rate of not less than 4,000 barrels per hour. There should be permitted with the sun terminal with the barge for the dock for the consider the strategic petroleum reserve project management office. Lower loading rates. The use of the barge is suitable equipment to the loading tank with the tanker ship the docks for the other terminal with the support of the strategic petroleum reserve with the permit with the donut and for the Department of Energy obligation from the other parties. See, at least 7 days in advance at the beginning of the scheduled loading with the window of the purchase shelf of the strategic petroleum, the project management offer the vessel nomination with the specified with the name, the type of the vessel, the value of the vessel for the to be with the nominated with the later date, stress the date with no later than 3 days before the commencement of the loading window. 2, the estimate of the date of the arrival with the be narrow with the firm date of the no later than 72 hours prior to the first day with the vessel for 3 days with the window with the provide with the paragraph F of the provision. 3, the quantity that be located with the contract number. 4, the other relevant information required for the strategic petroleum project management office included but not limited to ship specification, lift of the report for the cargo, the vessel owner, operator flag, any of the known deficiency on the board of cargo and slab of the DOE will divide with the purchaser and arrive the acceptance project for the nominated vessel with 24 hours with the nomination and value with the purchase furnished within 24 hours with the nomination will be firm or established and change with the decisive nomination detail of the made with a mutual agreement of the party with the non-conformed the Department of Energy the purchaser shall be entitled with a subsole and other vessel with a similar size of the vessel so with the nominated with the subject with the Department of the Energy of the approval of the Department of Energy must give within at least 3 days. Nominated subject of the Department of Energy approval. The DOD must give within at least 3 days notice prior to the first day of the 3-day loading window of each of the substitution. The Department of Energy should make reasonable effort to accept the nomination for the notice of the having given in strict accordance with the provision. E. In the event of the purchaser intended to use the more than one vessel to take the delivery of the quantity of the schedule of the delivery during loading the window of the information paragraph D and F of the provision shall provide with each of the vessel. However, the purchaser shall know for the strategic petroleum reserve project management office expected for the arrival of 72 hours beginning with the schedule of the 3-day loading one of the notice of the term agreed upon with the date of the arrival which of the 1-day window for the purpose of the vessel of the demarage paragraph provision C9 with the purchase failed with the notification expected with the date of the arrival of 1 day to be deemed with the middle of the day of the schedule of the 3-day window. Vessel shall also know the strategic petroleum and the reserve project management office expected to hour with the 72, 48, or 24 hour advance for the arrival after the notice for the void. Advise variation for more than 3 hours of the first notification of the hours of arrival. The master should arrive with the strategic petroleum and reserve project management office the cargo loading required the number 7 of the material vessel manifold connections and the detect effects of the vessel and the F equipment affecting the performance of maneuverability. She know the readiness should be attended upon the berth of the customary of the anchorage of the teams of the anchorage within hour of the vessel time of the strategic petroleum reserve dock with the preferred anchorage of the identified on the exhibit B for the notice for the readiness for the confirmed of the property for the promptly and rating of the strategic petroleum reserve project management off with the reasonable with the coordination with the crude oil loading operations of the notice effective with the only given the customary of the power and operating hours. There's notice given after the customary business hours of the it should be effective with the beginning of the customary with the business hour on the business of the day. Department of Energy shall best after for the purchase of the vessel assume with the possible to receive the notice for the readiness of the standard hosing fitting with the American standard connections. Loading shall provide with the Department of Energy purchase for the range of line handling debassing with the tugboat with the pilot serve with the pole for the arrival the departure of the terminal ship of the agent with the barrel for the costs associated with the service. J. With the tank ship of the ITB with itself, the propelled barge shall also have the berth time on 36 hours with the barge shall be allowed with the berth time on 3 hours berth for the quantity with the determined the divide with the cargo side with the gross standard volume of the barrel with the 4,000 with the vessel loading with the quantity with them except for the 500,000 barrels should be allowed with the barrel time of 36 hours plus 1 for each for the 20,000 barrels to be loaded and except the 500 barrel for the condition of the provision except the however the vessel shall not remain with the berth for the more than 6 hours of the completion of the cargo loading unless hampered by tide or weather. R1, berth time commences with the vessel time volumes for shore shall continue until the loading of the vessel more with the one vessel load with the completion of the last in line. Additional allowed with the berth time and increase with the amount of the aim with the delay with the occurring subsequent with the commencement of the berth time with the result of the cover with the due with the first level of the labor to pursue with the force measure of the likely the decision making of the port of the with effective and loading authority of the action of the Department of Energy for the contracted agent with the result of the delay with the loading of the operation provided with the action does not arrive with the fall of the purchase of the purchaser agent. Customs on the immigration clearance with the time required with the vessel vessel with a discharge of oil vessel waste with multiple vessels subsequently, and the berth shall count as the berth time. For all hours of the berth, the vessel with the berth time provided with the provision. Purchaser shall be liable for the dock demurrage. Also should be troubled with the condition and provision C11. C9, the vessel lay time on the demurrage. Lay time on the lab with the department entry, handle the purchasing vessel with the 36-hour run time of the vessel with the cargo quantity except for the 500,000 barrels. Lay time with the 36 hours plus 1 hour for every 20,000 barrels with cargo to be loaded with except for the 500,000 barrels. Vessel lay time with the commencement of the vessel with the alongside of the faster with the loading with the berth of 6 hours after receiving over the readiness over the which occur with the first with the shall continue 24 hours a day, 7 days per week without interruption with the commencement until the loading of the vessel is completed. In cargo hose, the loading error observe the disconnect with the end delay with the vessel with the reaching with the berth cow with the fall with the negligence of the vessel with the purchase with the delay with the breaking down inability of the vessel facility with the loading decision made by the vessel owned by the operative of the port authorities effect with the loading operation discharge of the ballast and flops and custom and immigration clearance weather labor dispute with the total force majeure with the end the show not counted due to the lay time. In addition, with the movement of the end of the road shall not be counted due to the lay time. If the vessel standing with the loading with the date earlier with the permanently agreed upon with the arrival of the date shall with the provision C8 with the other vessel with the loading with the habit that already been scheduled with the loading prior with the purchase vessel with the purchase vessel shall wait with the turn and vessel's lay time with the shall come into the vessel more lower alongside with the all faster with the 600-hour local time agreed upon and the date arrival which of the code of the vessel no later than 2400 hour with the vessel firm agreed upon a date arrival. Department of Energy will give the best efforts to have the vessel loaded as soon as possible. Proper term with the other schedule with the vessel with the circumstances prevailing with the time and in such instance in vessel lay time shall commence with the vessel moors alongside all fast. For all parties, any part of the vessel lay time when they elapse except for the lab with the vessel lay time and loading provided with the provision demurrage shall be paid with the DOD with the U.S. flag vessel with lesser with the demurrage with the tanker void with the charter party agreement with the most representatively recent available to the United States rate average for the hypothetical tanker with the dead weight with the loaded long tons equal to the weight and the long tons of the petroleum load multiplied most of the recent addition of the American tanker rate with the schedule rate with the hypothetical tanker with the voyage with the foreign flag vessel with the demurrage should be determined with the provision except for the loaded tanker brokers panel average freight rate assessment with the most recent additions for the new worldwide tanker normal freight scale with the world scale should be appropriate less than the charter party rate. For all other foreign flag vessel loading with the commencement of the during of the particular calendar month applicable to the AFRA shall be the one with the determined the base of the freight assessment with the period with the end of the 15th day with the preceding month with the demurrage rate with the barges with lesser of the hourly rate contained with the charter with the charter of a chartered barge of the rate determined with the Department of Energy fair rate of the unprevailing condition of the demurrage included because of the breakdown of the machinery equipment of the Department of Energy contractors other than purchasers of the rate of the demurrage should be reduced one half of the rate stipulated with the herein per running hour quo rate should be scaled with the rate to part of an hour for a demurrage include the demurrage payable to the Department of Energy. However, shall no event exceed actual demurrage expense incurred by the purchaser as the result of the delay. In the event of the purchaser using more than one vessel load with the contract quantity scheduled to deliver during the single load window of the term of the provision with the government liability demurrage apply only to the first presenting with a notice of the readiness in accordance with the provision A of the provision. In either the primary source of the document and official record with the demurrage calculations, Strategic Petroleum Reserve crude oil delivery report. 10. C10 vessel loading expedition options. The notwithstanding provision C8J1 in order to avoid disruption of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve distribution problem, the government may limit the berth time of any of the vessel receiving the Strategic Petroleum Reserve of the petroleum of the period required with the loading operate for the physical berthing and unberthing of the vessel with the direction of the government activities associated with the physical loading of the vessel with the preparing the documentation, gauging, sampling may be required with the accomplice away from the berth. Time consumed with the activities will not govern the account of the berthing time of the be restricted with the government which will provide with the vessel prior to the berthing of the vessel. In addition, the paragraph A with the provision government may limit the vessel calling with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Terminal with a total of 24 hours with the petroleum transfer operation event with the loading with the conservative completed with the F of the vessel load with the 95% of the more than nominated quantity within 24 hours with the vessel is low within 95% of the denominated quantity. Then provision C11 shall apply. Alright, C11, the purchaser liability except for the berth time, the government reserve the right to direct the vessel loading the Strategic Petroleum Reserve petroleum at the delivery point specified in the notice of sale, the vacate of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve berth and observe all of the costs associated with the movement associated with should such a vessel through the operating ability to receive the oil with the average rate for the 5 and the provision C8 with the cover of the berth to be unable to be available to be already scheduled follow on vessel floor. There should be breakdown of the vessel propulsion system preventing it getting under a wave with its own power. The government may cause the vessels to be removed from berth with all costs to be borne by the purchaser. Alright, pipeline delivery procedure. The purchaser will nominate the delivery requirements of the pipeline carrier with the include the total quantity with the move, the preferred 5-day with the shipment range with the specified on the C5. The purchaser shall provide with the conformity carrier except for the nominated quantity with the 1,000 of the barrels per day with the shipment range with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Project Management Office with no later than the first day of the month proceed with the month of the delivery. Purchaser also furnished with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Project Management Office with the name and the telephone number, the email address of the pipeline contact to whom the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Project Management Office should coordinate with the delivery of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Project Management Office will ensure the oil is made available to carry within a shipment a day with the range established in accordance with the paragraph Vision C5 with the established the pipeline delivery schedule should only be changed with accordance with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Project Management Office prior to written consent should the schedule be established in accordance with A of the provision vary with the original schedule established in accordance with the Vision C5 of the government will provide the special the accommodated the revised schedule will incur no liability failure to provide the delivery of the dates requested. 3 days prior to the beginning of the 5-day shipping agreement for the purchase, for the receipt of the delivery of the purchase, furnished with the Strategic Petroleum Management off the date with the range of the movement and it's due with the commence for the quantity to be moved and the contract number. The date of the delivery will be recorded with the crude oil delivery report as provision C19 with the date delivered commencement of the custody transfer point as identified with the notice of sale. The purchaser shall receive the pipeline deliveries with a minimum average rate of 100,000 barrels each day, but the purchaser is sole responsible for the making the necessary arrangement of the pipeline carrier that include the storage of the achieve the stated minimum. C13 title and risk, unless otherwise provided notice of sale of title 2 and risk loss of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve Petroleum will pass the purchaser at the delivery point as follows: the vessel shipment with the petroleum passive the dock loading equipment connection vessel permit hose connection pipeline shipment identified in the notice of sale. Hello? 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 May I ask who's calling? Okay.